Hi friends, it's Kayla Moran and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. Happy Thursday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day or time it is that you're listening. So happy to be back on the mic with you guys. Happy spring solstice, happy March. Can't believe it's already almost the end of March. Haven't talked to you guys in so long. I don't know what it is with the planets, the moon, the equinox, whatever it is going on, but I've been going through it. I've been thrown for a loop with just life and work, and I've been so busy, but I'm really looking forward to this weekend to have a little bit of a breather. There's no plans on my calendar, and for the first time in I don't even know how long, and I am so excited about it. Cannot wait to just lay back and get some sun and relax and spend time with my friends and family. I'm really looking forward to an easier weekend. We're actually planning a family vacation for next month. We're going to Colombia. So if you've ever been to Medellin, Cartagena, or Bogota, please send me recommendations. But yeah, we're really looking forward to just getting away, a little change of scenery. Last time I spoke to you, I was literally on a trip, but that was not a pleasure trip. That wasn't a vacation, and I could really use one. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the first 2 months of the year are always the hardest for me. And then once spring comes, I feel like I blossom, no pun intended, spring, florals, groundbreaking. We all know that movie. But I really do come out of my cocoon in the spring, and I really flourish. And it could not come soon enough this spring. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it'll take me. It's currently the Miami Open, so hopefully I'll get to go see some tennis matches. And I know it's Miami Music Week, but Ultra isn't really my scene. But I did go to Soho House last night and go to the Lacoste opening party for the Miami Open, and went to a 8-2-1 tennis event for the Miami Open. And that's way more my scene, even though I don't play tennis. I want to learn though. Still working on golf, so one thing at a time. But yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks around here. I have lots of life updates for you guys if you follow me on TikTok. If you're not already following me, you should. But I've been sharing a lot more on there, just chatty catch-up vlogs, life updates, quotes, and things that really are speaking to me. I did one today about just going for it and doing things for you, because honestly, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. No matter what they say or what they think about you, as long as you are doing it for yourself and you genuinely believe in it, it's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be worth it. And it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. But the best time to start is now, baby steps, and just do it and go for it and do it for yourself. Don't do it for the money, don't do it for the glory, do it for you. And that's something that I've really had to remind myself of lately. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to chilling out and enjoying all of the opportunities that are coming my way and leaning into them, and really kind of going back to the drawing board almost and reevaluating what are my goals and how do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to make an impact and leave a legacy? What do I want to be known for? Because I've been getting a lot of feedback lately, not all warranted, but all valuable nonetheless in different ways. And I've just been processing and reflecting and doing lots of journaling and yoga and meditation and just affirmations. Affirmations have been so huge for me lately. The intelligent change cards have been a game changer. I'll link them below for you guys, and they're always linked in my to know all of my journaling stuff. I've just been really having to remind myself of that lately as I go through this transformation period of realizing things and evolving. I just feel that's what your mid-20s is for. Your 20s in general, I feel you're just constantly evolving every 3 to 6 months. And it can be exhausting, it is, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity to live at home while I do so. We talked about that in last episode, the solo episode. I'm really grateful that I get to live at home to be able to focus on myself and my growth and my personal development and career while not having to worry about money as much. All the money that I'm making is going right back into the business, or I'm saving it. And I am really grateful that I'm able to do that. It takes a lot of the pressure off. Not that there aren't external life stressors and societal pressures. That's definitely something that I've started to deal with a lot more in the last few weeks. And that's why just doing it for myself was the message I really needed. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm really on a hormone journey right now. Again, I got off birth control, like August will be 3 years. And I've been chronicling that from the beginning here on the podcast and on social media. And I feel like as I enter my late 20s at the end of this year, my hormones have changed again. And I feel like it's time to kind of reevaluate what's going on there. I feel like I'm anemic again, so I've been taking iron supplements. And I think I need to take more vitamin D and calcium because I don't drink milk, and I really never have. But yeah, I need to up my protein levels. I want to get my thyroid panel and all of my blood work done. Just make sure everything is working good the way it should for me. And so I can look and feel my best. I haven't really been doing so lately. And I've been doing yoga and Pilates, so I know I'm gaining muscle mass, which I love. And I like feeling strong in my body, but I'm struggling to like what I see in the mirror. And that's something that I really want to be more open about because it's something that we all struggle with. As women, primarily in our 20s, it's really, really hard when our bodies are changing, our minds are changing, our careers, our lifestyles are changing so much, and it's hard to keep up. You want to go out and be young and fun and single and free, and then you want to, stay at home and eat healthy and go out with the girls and date nights and it's hard to balance everything and be like well-rounded and career-minded, but also fun and go on all the adventures and trips and jump to every opportunity, say yes to everything, but also be mindful. And it's a lot to balance. And I've just been kind of pushing myself too hard almost. And I need a breather. So this trip to Colombia couldn't come at a better time. And with all of that, I think this episode couldn't come at a better time. Today we're talking to Victoria Ilario, who is all about confidence and for the girls and being feminine and owning your sexuality, owning who you are, owning your confidence, and not being afraid to show up as 100% who you are. And we had such an incredible conversation. I love conversations like this with people my age, a little bit older. And it's like the advice that I didn't know I needed when we recorded it. I didn't know I needed it even more so now, a month later. And I'm so grateful that I get to share it with you guys. And I know she feels the same way. This is what her platform is all about. And I'm just so grateful that I get to have this opportunity to share these conversations with you guys and have this community and these relationships. And my female friendships have been so critical and essential in the last month for me as I navigate all of the things that it means to be a mid-20s girl figuring it all out. And I hope you really do find that one day if you're still searching for it. I used to think that I was not a girl's girl and I could never be friends with girls because I'm not a jealous person and I kind of, walks the beat of my own drum and I'm unapologetic, and most girls don't like that. And I really struggle to get along with people and find women who loved and supported and uplifted me for who I am. And now in the last 2-3 years, I've really truly found that, and I'm just so grateful for them. So being able to connect with Victoria like this truly means the world to me. And I wouldn't have been able to have a conversation like this a year ago. So it takes time. It takes nurturing yourself and your confidence and your healing and listening to yourself, listening to your gut, and taking care of yourself. And so with that, let's do a quick suck and sweet of the week, and then we'll dive right into this week's episode. My suck of the week is that I've just been very overwhelmed lately in both good ways and bad ways. So many incredible opportunities. I keep having to say no to things because I'm going on vacation, which is really sad because I want to say yes to everything and I want to go to different law schools and speak and be a member and a light in the community and in the industry. And I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to do so here in Miami recently, and I'm going to keep working on building those. So I'm sad that I've said no to some things, whether because I already have prior engagements or I'll be out of town, but also reminding myself that it's okay to say no and to take time for yourself. Like, I need that reminder too, because I've been kind of burning the candle at both ends. So, taking a breather and reminding myself to breathe so I don't feel so overwhelmed all the time. But yeah, that's just kind of been like the shitty part of what's been going on lately. And my sweet of the week, like I said, my female friendships, but also just the sunshine is out. The sun is setting after 7 p.m. now. And I love the spring. I'm a summer and fall girl 100%, but the spring is, I love spring in Miami, minus spring breakers. It's beach weather is coming back, boat days are coming back, and I love this city so much, and I'm so grateful to be able to be from here and be here this time of year and experience all the magic that it has to offer with events and opportunities and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like they kind of go hand in hand this week. But yeah, I'm just really loving the weather right now. Getting my hair done in 2 weeks. I'm getting a haircut on Friday and then getting it done my color the following week right before I leave on our trip. And I'm really looking forward to a spring refresh. I cleaned out my closet. I'm going to be listing all of it on Curtsy, so stay tuned for that. I'll let you guys know when I do that. But yeah, I'm just working on a spring glow up, a refresh for myself. Like I said, you have to do it for you. So I'm taking that advice myself and doing everything for me this year. It's okay to be selfish and, love yourself, take care of yourself, and really take a moment for yourself today to say an affirmation and say how proud of you are of yourself and give yourself a hug. And I'm going to do the same thing. But definitely listen to this episode first and then let's chat about it in the DMs. Let me know if you liked it. If you like this episode, leave a rating and review. Please subscribe to the show, share with a friend, tag us as you're listening. Let me know who you want to see next, what topics you want me to cover next. And I really think you guys are going to like this one. So without further ado, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I'll talk to you soon. Meet Victoria. So Victoria, what's something that people wouldn't know about you just from following you?
Ooh, good question. Something people wouldn't know about me just from following me. I'm actually very introverted. And I consider myself to be like an introverted extrovert because by personality, I would say I'm extroverted in the sense of like, I'm not shy, like I could talk to people. I'm a big people person. And that really like translates through my videos. You could just tell like I'm a talkative people person, but that also really like exhausts my energy. And 9 out of 10 times, I would rather be home, not giving my energy to other people, like just in my own, I'm a big homebody. I'm also perfectly content in my like lonesome, like just being home. Like today, I work from home, so I'm home alone all day, and I can perfectly stay like that for like a week straight without leaving the house. So, yeah, I definitely resonate. I think more with being an introvert than an extrovert, even though I'm like a people person.
I would agree with that, like for myself too. And I think I was actually I posted that the other day or said something that, and then someone that knew me from college, he goes, "You're not an introvert," or from law school, he's like, "You're not an introvert." And I was like, I think as I get older, I'm becoming more of an introvert because I also need to recharge in my time alone. And
Mhm.
like yesterday, my parents and my brother went to go play pool, and my mom really wanted me to go and like do like a family like date night. Like we do that every once in a while. And I was like, I literally can't. Like there's no part of me that can be, even though it's my own family and I live with them, I just could not go be like social around other people. I needed to go sit in bed and watch Netflix for a few hours before I went to sleep. Like I needed my time for myself. So I totally agree with that. Um, and yeah, I would never think from your content that you were, and I don't think people think I am from mine either, but that's a good one. And that's why I love asking this question. I love like really like
It's hard to be
being
like a podcast host, content creator, and also get the point across that you're an introvert, like your whole job is to be extroverted. So I think I really reserve that energy for my career. Like I'll get on TikTok and I'll get on, my podcast and really like put it all out there. But then as soon as I stop recording, I'm like slumped into the couch, will not move for the next 48 business hours. Friday night, Saturday night, would rather be home than out. Like I do love to go to dinner, but I think I exhausted all of my socializing energy, like the going out energy, literally in college, and was like, "Oh, I actually hate all that." So I haven't gone out
yeah.
in years, like years.
No, I'm 100% the same way. My going out now is dinner and drinks or like a happy hour, or
I love like a Thursday night going out. That way, Friday,
Mm.
after I work from home too, so I'm usually by myself, but like I'll go out to happy hour with my parents, like, or meet a friend out for drinks or something. And then like 8 p.m. on Friday rolls around. I'm like, all right, time to go to bed and like cuddle with the dogs and like lay on the couch. And so I'm with you on that. But I wanted to ask you, speaking of college, were you this like confident, extroverted people person in college? Like, when did you really start realizing that you had this like innate self-worth and confidence? Because I think we have to have that at some extent to do what we do. But also, you talk so much about this in your content. That's a big part of your brand and your mission. Did you always kind of have it? Or, and also being an introvert, recognizing that you're an introvert, knowing like, okay, I need to honor myself. Where did that really come from? Did that start in college?
I would say, yeah. I would, you know what? Like, since I'm younger, I've always been all of the things that I am now. Like, it's funny because my mom and I were just having this conversation because we were watching like home tapes, like home videos of me in like the 90s, like super little. And in the videos where it's just us at home, like literally just me and my mom, and then maybe my dad and my brother are there, I'm like dancing, singing, and I'm like the center of attention, putting my face in the camera. And then in the other videos where it was like my birthday party in one, or we were with like all my cousins in the other one, I'm like in the corner, not saying a word. And we're like, it's so funny because my mom said, she's like, well, you were like that. Like when you were home alone, like you were like crazy and whatever. But then when everybody else was around, you didn't like to talk. You were just like
I'm
in the
the same
corner,
way.
like kind of shy. So I feel like that has like carried, with me to this day, like the way that I am. But I would say that I really embodied like my more confident self in college. I never really struggled with like major insecurity or low self worth, but I think as I was like younger, like high school and whatnot, I was definitely more immature. I totally like compared myself to like other girls, even with things like guys and whatnot. Like I could definitely see that being like part of my mindset and like my life in high school. But then in college, I think I started owning even more, really marching to the beat of my own drum. Like I kind of struggled with like girl groups. Like I had a group of friends and that just did not end up lasting forever because I'm someone who's very true to myself. I don't really get along with like, like the mob mentality and like following each other. I feel like there's like that one person who's like, the ringleader and everybody follows suit. Like I can't get down with that. Like that's just not my vibe. And so I feel like it was hard for me to maintain like friend groups in college. I
I
had like
couldn't
my like
agree more.
individual. Yeah, I
I
had
have
like
the
my
same exact.
individual friends.
Yeah, I've never been like the mob mentality or like the group think like person, and I really struggled in high school and in college and at the beginning of law school with feeling like I didn't belong anywhere because I didn't agree with everybody and I wanted to do my own thing. And it wasn't until like my
Mm.
early 20s where I really started marching to the beat of my own drum. So I love that for you it was younger, like in college. I think that's so important that
Yeah. I
what
I think I'm opinionated, and like I stand up for my opinions and my beliefs and my values. Like I'm not someone who will just like, waver or change my mind based on what everybody else is thinking or doing. And I feel like I struggled with like that friend group, like I said, because they were really insecure when it came to guys, like, with other girls, because like, you're in college, and if they're not your boyfriend, like, they're gonna make out with other girls and stuff like that. Like, I always kind of was, like, okay with that. They would, like, get upset with other girls, like, they would fight with other girls, and I just couldn't. I'm not the type of person who will be mad at somebody for, quote, unquote, "doing something to you," when really they didn't do anything to you at all. Like, it's they really didn't owe you anything. So that was kind of when I feel like I really got okay with like being an individual and, like I said, marching to the beat of my own drum and just having like those singular friends. And I think that kind of carried with me, through graduating and whatnot. And now it's like I'm 29 years old. My core best friends are the four best friends that I had in high school. One of my best friends, we went to literally elementary school together. So it's like those people are my friends, and I'm okay with not, having like that, big social crew. Um, And yeah, I do think that it was that college time where I had to stand up for myself a lot. I had to just be okay with like knowing, okay, I might not fit in with certain things. And that to me was actually a confidence booster. Whereas I think for somebody with a different mindset, it would have made them feel more insecure. Like, what's wrong with me? Why don't people want to hang out with me? Why don't people like me? But instead, it actually made me, I think, more secure in myself and more feel more powerful.
I love that. Yeah, I used to be the girl that you just said, like, why don't people like me? Why don't people want to hang out with me? I was that girl for so long, but now I'm where you're at. And I think that evolution is so important, especially nowadays because there's so many more outside influences and groupthink with social media and
Mm.
even podcasts to some extent, like just like anywhere. Like if you're not surrounding yourself with the right kind of people and the right advice, it could get really hard to listen to yourself. And so I love that you were really good about that from such a young age. It's something that it was always in there for me. I had it, but I wanted so badly to fit in that I purposely went against those things. And it wasn't until my early 20s, like 21, 22, where I was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So I love that for you, you realize that in college. And yeah, I have like 3 or 4, like, true girlfriends, and they're all people I've met
Mhm.
since I've been, like, 23. I have my friends from high school or middle school. I do still talk to some of those people, and they're my friends, but, like, my closest friends are people I've met now being my true self, and I think
After you grew, yeah.
yeah, and I think that plays a role too, like, why your friends are your core for like, from your childhood and from college and high school is because you were always unafraid to be your true self. Um,
Yeah.
where do you think that, like, innate sense came from? Was your mom and, like, the women in your family very confident? What did you like, did you dance? Like, did you do sports? Were you, like, consuming media or movies? Like, where do you think this really came from?
I would say yes, that the women in my life, like my mom, my grandma, my cousins, my aunt, like I would say all of them are pretty confident with themselves. I would say that like yes, a lot always has to do with how you were raised. And I was raised by women who I didn't ever see like as the victim. Like they always just like got shit done, took care of themselves. Had a true sense of self and high self-worth and raised us that way. Like, if people were ever mean to us, it's like my mom, my grandma, my aunt, they're like, "Oh, they're jealous of you." Like things
I
like
got
that,
that too.
like never, yeah, like never let us like be a victim, or feel like a victim. I've never been someone who ever like felt sorry for myself, even if, like I said, in college, even if people like left me out, I was not like, oh, woe is me. I was just like, okay, well then like those aren't my people. So I feel like yes, it definitely has a lot to do with how I was raised. I did dance, but it's so funny that you just asked that because I did talk about this in a podcast episode that like literally came out a week ago, with somebody who was asking me actually about confidence. I think the how that question about dance came up was because she asked when I really started removing myself from things that don't feel right, because that's something that I was saying, like when it comes to confidence, it's not only about the positive or good things that make you feel good, it's also about learning how to remove yourself from the things that feel bad. And she asked me like where that came from, and for some reason, what came to me was like dancing school, which I've never like talked about really, but it came to me because I danced from the age of 2 to like 14, like going into high school. It was like the 8th grade. I loved dance growing up, but then as I got older and like all the girls got better and more competitive, and it became more like of who's the best and like playing favorites and whatnot. I was not the best in the class. I was not the favorite. I was the girl who was more towards the back rather than the front, or I wasn't given the solos, things of that sort. Um and and so I think as I got older I started to feel that more, but you're still young where like if you're in dance you just keep going back every year. You're not like, oh, I'm gonna quit. You just keep going, going, going. And then I think when I was, like I said, 13, 14, I felt like I was old enough to be able to really sit with that feeling and be like, I get anxiety going to dancing school. Like I don't like to go to dance anymore. I feel left out. I feel unimportant. I feel like I'm just like a person in the routine, but I don't feel a value to this team, you know? And so I didn't like the way I felt going to dance. And yes, when you're younger, even if you feel that way, you just keep going because that's just
Yeah.
what you do. It's almost like going to school, you just have to go. But then I got old enough to be like, but I don't have to go and I don't like to go. And I would kick and scream and cry that I didn't want to go to dance. So I quit. And I think that was a big like turning point for me into like maturity and into self and knowing me and sitting with my feelings and being like, I'm just going to remove myself if things don't feel good to me. And I think that really like catapulted that for me. And that was only going into high school. So I think that's why in college I didn't struggle as much with being able to detach, because it's like, okay, well, it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel right, it isn't right. And like it is what it is.
That's huge. I asked the dance question because I was a dancer my entire life, and I always talk about dance or sports, like the discipline you're raised with and the life lessons it teaches
Mhm.
you. And just growing up in the Miami world, like most girls dance. So that's why I said that specifically. But I think that's huge that you learn that so young. I also quit dancing at 16, going to a studio at 16 for similar reasons. Like I was never the girl who got the solo. I was always in the back corner. And at 17, when I graduated from high school, I stopped dancing in high school because I went to a magnet school. So I still had time left. Like I still had a few years left where I could have continued, could have done dance team in college. And I just never did. I didn't apply myself to it. And I look back now and I wish I would have, because I genuinely love dance, but I wasn't happy and I wasn't. So I kind of similar to you, I removed myself from it, but I didn't think of it that way up until now. Like as an adult, I always just like, I wasn't happy. I need to choose me. But
Mm.
I'm
I
very good
wouldn't
now
wish
about.
though, I wouldn't wish that you did it differently though, because if you keep forcing yourself to do something that ultimately doesn't feel right, then it would take your love for dance away. Like
Yeah.
you love dance, let it be something that you love. If you keep going when you're not happy, when you're like feeling, you know, those feelings, then you build a resentment toward the thing. And like I didn't want to hate dance. I still love dance to this day, but you know what? Like I'm like not a good dancer anymore because I just completely stopped dancing. Like that was the thing, is that it ruined it for me. Like it ruined the fun and enjoyment. Whereas like maybe I didn't have to go to a dance studio, but there's so many dance classes, like things in the city. Like I could have gone to just those one-off classes where you just go and dance for fun and you don't have to even go back the next week. But I didn't, because of the fact that I just stopped enjoying dance altogether. And now it's been like 10 plus years, not over 10 years probably, since I danced at all, which is pretty sad, you know, because I did love it. But I think if you force yourself to do it, then like it ruins it for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't change it. It's just funny. Something I think about a lot is I wish I wish I would have been more in touch with myself like you were. Like you,
Mm,
13, 14, you were so in tune with who you were. And similarly to you, I grew up with a very matriarchal, very strong, confident women who raised us to be that. And so I don't know what happened along the way. I just got too caught up in everything around me. And it took me a few years to really get back into who I was. But something that a dance teacher
mm,
told me, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, and I talk about this all the time, but she said, don't be a space filler. And she meant like take up space in your window and like finish your movements, but that's applicable to life.
mm,
Like, don't just go through the motions of life. Like, if it's not serving you, if it doesn't feel right anymore, don't do it. So you make room for the things that you are going to give 110%.
mhm,
And that's similar to what
mhm.
you're saying. Like, you removed yourself from it because it just wasn't feeling right anymore. And I think that's a lesson that
Yeah.
all should use in life, like as we go through life, like friendships, relationships, jobs, people, like anything. Like if it just doesn't feel right anymore, why are we putting energy into it? Reserve that
Yeah.
energy for the things that you do want to continue doing and moving forward. So I love that. When did the podcast and content creation, social media really become like, when did you start sharing your life on social media? Were you in college? Were you younger?
I was in college actually, when it was 2015 when I started making my Instagram more of like fashion. I was all like doing, you know, style, fashion content. So I was in college like taking pictures of myself like on campus at parties, like legit in like the frat house type, you know. It's like the dirty walls behind me with like my dress on, taking pictures of my outfits. I studied abroad, so I took, you know, pictures in London, like when I was there, and I started a blog. this was the era of legit websites. People had
Yeah.
blogs. It was called In Fashion We Trust. So I had that
I
blog,
love that name.
did
You
that for
should do something
years.
with that. I like that.
I think I'm okay right now. If it ever comes back, if
Yeah, it's
blogs
funny.
ever come back, then, you know.
I started a blog when I studied abroad in England too in college in 2018. And that's when I started content creation too. I'm 26. So I'm slightly younger than you, but I started my Instagram in 2015 when I like in high school. So that's funny.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So 2015, and then by 2018 is when I took social media as a full-time career. So I was working in fashion PR. I quit my job and started, doing basically Instagram full time. Did that for a while, and then everything kind of turned into being more of like a confidence, self-love, unapologetic self route, because even though I was like sharing clothes and beauty products and business and all that kind of stuff, confidence was always at the forefront of my stuff. Like always talked about mindset and like being unapologetically you. I feel like I started like hating shooting like outfits all the time, and it goes back to what I just said about dance. Like, if you don't let it ruin something for you because you're forcing yourself to do it. And I think for me, I started to feel like I was forcing having to post a picture every single day on Instagram of clothes, and I wasn't enjoying it. And if I have the power over myself and my life, which I know that I do, then why would I force myself to do something that I'm just not enjoying? So it kind of turned into like not so much being like fashion and beauty and more into like the self-esteem stuff. So started the podcast for the girls, started doing confidence coaching, and that kind of also led into TikTok, which TikTok I share advice, and I do share clothes video. I actually just posted a try on haul today because I still love clothes and style and fashion. I do love those things, but I'm glad that I kind of stopped making that the forefront, the focus of my content when I did, because it would like, make me hate it altogether.
Yeah, you take the
And
fun
I
out
never
of it.
wanted to get there. Yeah. So now the clothes is something I kind of like throw into it when like I feel like it, but it's definitely not the priority. But you know what? Like every time that I was talking on my stories or saying things, it always led to like, you have to just do it. You have to just put yourself out there. Like I was always in some way or another talking about confidence without realizing I was talking about confidence. So it was honestly a seamless transition. It was just like a perfect segue. And I think that the reroute felt very natural for me with my content and my followers.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I talk about a lot of that stuff too. And that's why mentorship of like pre-law and law school students is such a big part of my content, primarily on TikTok. I'll do some of it on Instagram too, but I think a lot of us started out as like the fashion blogger or beauty,
Yeah.
and we still love those things, and there's nothing wrong with loving them. We still get dressed every day. We put makeup on most days to
Right.
try to, when we go get out or we want to get all dressed up, or we want to feel good in ourselves, like we still do it. And it's okay to be multifaceted and still talk about things that are important to you and empowering. And I think it's beautiful that you do both and you are unapologetic about both. And that's something that is really important to me
Mhm.
also, which is why I wanted to have you on. Because I want to tell girls that it's okay to like
Yeah.
fashion and beauty and also be nerdy and like science, or be a sports
Mhm.
girl but still want to get dressed up and wear heels some days. Like it's okay to do all those things. And I have a lot of interest that it's sometimes I'm like, should I talk about this because it doesn't make sense, but it's like, you know what, it's my account. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but I
Mhm.
like it, so I'm going to
Yeah.
share. And it was a seamless transition to start doing that when I started being unapologetic about who I am and what I like, and stop caring about other people. And I think that's why it was so seamless for you. And I love it was just a natural transition. Um, you mentioned you talk a little bit about business too, and when like, you went full time very early on, I think. What was that like going full time, and how do you treat yourself like a business? I think that's something that a lot of girls struggle with nowadays, personal branding and treating yourself like a
Mm.
business.
Well, that you actually mentioned the key word earlier on in this episode, in this conversation rather, when you were talking about dance, and that word is discipline. I was super disciplined. You have to keep in mind I was working full time, which I think is a lot of people's excuse, like, oh, I work full time so I don't have the time to do the other things. Whereas for me, I saw it as my reason. Instead of using my full-time job as an excuse as to why I can't do the things that I really want to do, I use it as my reason why I have to. I want to get out of my full-time job, so I have to do this, like that. I was super disciplined because for me, there was just no other way around it. I wanted to work for myself, period. I didn't want to have a boss. I didn't want to have to clock in 9 to 5. I wanted to work from home. I wanted to be able to make my own schedule. I wanted to do whatever it is that I want to do. And so you're absolutely right when you say you treat yourself like a business. Yes, that's what I did. I was disciplined and I treated myself like a business. I am my own brand. I built a whole career on just my existence. Do you like understand that? Like not you, I'm
No,
saying
I know
like
what
to
you
people
mean.
like you. Do you understand that? Like I literally built a career on the existence of my life. Like it is whether it's fashion or business, coaching or confidence coaching or my TikTok or my podcast. I mean, even down to TikTok, I post videos cooking. I have food videos too, which is like that comes out of left field as well. But at this point, I'm just a creator of like a content creator of my life. And if I'm going to cook a meal that I want to share the recipe and I can link something on there, like the tripod I have moves and follows me around, or I can link, I have like this drying pad that I use and make money off of that video just by people buying the tripod or by buying the drying pad thing. And like it, it'll hit. Like I'll still be able to post it because it's really my life. It's really what I'm doing. I'm actually cooking this food. Um, and I was sharing anything and everything. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said like you could do all different things. Like I think there was a time where I tried to really put myself in a niche because I learned so much that like if you niche down, you will grow more. Your following will grow, you'll get more reach, you'll get more engagement. You have to stick to one thing. Don't post anything else. So there was a little season where I tried to do that. But then there were so many other components of me in my life that once I got on TikTok, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just share everything. So that's why you'll see the dating stories and content. You'll see the cooking videos. You'll see the outfits, the try on hauls. You'll see the makeup routine. Like you'll see a little bit of everything because why not? So I think if a girl really wants to build that sort of career, being a content creator, whatnot, you have to that's what you have to do. Like don't just get to like buy the book, turn into making yourself a brand. Show yourself, get yourself out there. Do things that you actually enjoy and make content out of it. Like that to me is the easiest part. I enjoy everything that I talk about or everything that I post. I'm not
Because
gonna
it's who you are. It's authentic to you,
yeah.
and that's why you can do so many different things, and I think your audience comes to you and is gonna buy the tripod or the drying mat or
Mhm.
whatever it is you're sharing because they know that you genuinely use it and you love it and that you are genuinely sharing your life, and I think audiences nowadays know when something is just for the money or it's just not genuine or they're doing it because it's a trend, and the reason
Yeah.
it's seamless to do all of those things is because you are all of those things, and I'm the same way. On TikTok, I
Yeah.
do the dating stories, I talk about networking, I talk about business, I talk about entrepreneurship, I talk about law, I talk about everything because it's and fashion and beauty and getting ready with these. I cry on TikTok sometimes. Like that's just that's who I am and it's authentic to who you are and to who I am. And about the niching down, actually, I was at a content creator like law school, like law did a conference for law students wanting to get into content creation and being lawyers in the creator economy the last week. And something that one of the panelists said, and which you basically just said too, is niching down is putting your potential on a ceiling, like you're putting a ceiling on your potential.
Mm.
Like niching down
Mhm.
is putting a ceiling on your potential because you are not allowing yourself to be truly who you are if you're only going to talk about one thing just to grow because then it might be really hard to get out of that later. Or your audiences, you're going to
Yep.
lose followers because they know you as that one thing. And yeah, you might gain a whole nother following doing this, but then like, do I not talk about that other thing anymore? It's like, but I still love that. So like, how do I, and it's like, you can't
Mhm.
niche down. Like I personally, I don't agree with that. I understand it works for some people, and I think you would agree with me. Like you are a personality, you are 100% yourself, and that's why people gravitate towards you. That's why I gravitate towards you. Those are the type of people I like to watch because we know you're being 100% who you are, and you're not putting a ceiling on your potential. You're just doing whatever feels right to you in the moment and
Yeah.
leaning into that. And if you build another business or not, whatever happens, happens, and you get to share that with your audience, and it's so much more enjoyable to watch. I think.
That was exactly what I was gonna say too. When I was trying to say I was saying I'm not gonna put myself in a box because I've done that too. Like especially with the dating content, I've really witnessed it hardcore lately on TikTok because before I met my boyfriend, I was single. I was always talking about like dating stories because like I was going on dates and certain things, and I feel like because those were really blowing up, I was really leaning into them and posting them like 5 times a day. And so now, obviously, I have a totally different lifestyle because I'm not single anymore and I'm not going on dates with people anymore. And I do see that. And that's the reality of being a content creator too. You're gonna go through highs and lows. And right now, my views are on a low because last year I was like really in that hole. And now, I'm still working on getting out of that, which I think I've done a pretty good job in the past year, the past few months. But I'm not going to, throughout the majority, I mean, throughout the almost 10 years, 8 years that I've been creating content, like I'm not going to put myself in a box intentionally. I'm not going to say I can't post beauty because I post fashion, or I can't post fashion because I post confidence, or I can't post confidence because I post dating. Like, no, I'm going to do all of it. And so, yeah, I think putting yourself in a box is just simply the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I always say that. Like, I don't want to be put in a box. I never wanted to be put into a box. As a child, I was like, I want to be more than a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer, but I also want to be a
Mhm.
mom, and I want to be a wife, and I want to travel, and I want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to do all these different things. Like I didn't want to be just one thing, and that goes for content creation or
Mhm.
whatever it is you do. Like we are allowed to be multifaceted. Personally, I think that makes someone more fun and interesting, and I am intrigued by them. And if you're interested in people, they're going to want to be interested in you, and that makes for better relationships and better friendships.
Uh-huh.
And like with the dating thing, like I really like I loved sharing like the dating stories and stuff. And then when I was in a relationship for a little while, I still shared it because I didn't want to lose that side of me. And then now that I'm back into, well, we'll be re-entering the dating world at some point in the near future, I'll bring it back. But like I don't talk about
Yeah.
that as much maybe as I used to, because I want to make it, I don't want to, like I said, don't want to fall into that box where people come to me for that. But that's a part of
Yeah.
who I am. It's a part of my lifestyle. It's what I'm doing. So I'm sharing what I'm doing. If I'm getting ready to go on a date or going to dinner with friends, like I'll share it, but I'm not necessarily going to talk about only that one thing.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's hard. Like they say, I don't know, have you seen Barbie, but like the monologue that America Ferrera, I forget the
I
name of
didn't
the
see the
character.
movie, but I'm aware of the
You know what you're talking about?
monologue.
Yeah, I didn't love the movie, and that's a whole nother thing, but I loved the monologue. And it's like, women in particular, we have to be so many different things. And at the end of the day, I think what the message was is really just like be yourself. Like be who you
Yeah.
are and have fun with who you are. And it's okay to change. It's okay to try new things. It's okay to realize you don't like something and not pursue it anymore. It's okay to change your mind. As long as you're being who you are and showing up as who you are, the right people and opportunities come into your life. And I think
Right.
that's a big part of what you share too. And what has been like your favorite part about being a confidence coach? Officially, how long have you been doing that now?
I started doing it in 2021,
Okay.
and then 2022, I took it more full time. Yeah, it's like 2 years of more like full time. So for like the first 6 months to a year was like just kind of doing like one-off little calls here and there. And then in 2022, I launched my official programs, like where people could actually work with me one-on-one and whatnot. And I'm actually in the works of revamping some stuff too, because I'm going to launch a digital program. I was doing a live group program. It was like an 8-week course, but Yeah, but I find that the group programs are a little hard because, everyone's availability is all over the place. So I'm actually in the process of launching that digitally. So I am looking forward to having that so that it's something people can just buy and have instant access to and download and watch and, do it right away in that moment. But anyway, my favorite part, something that I always say is it's about the impact over the income. And yeah, you can make great money doing it, absolutely. But I'm also not the type of person who's like desperate for clients to sign up. If some right there, that initial ticket price for me could, of course, make me a lot of money. But if somebody tells me it's not the right time, or I don't know if this is what I want to do, I'm not sure if this is the right fit, or I have a lot of other priorities going on, then I don't want them to sign up because then it's not going to have the right impact on you. Like if you're, you know, nervous that it's not going to be worth your money or that it's not going to be worth your time, then you don't see my value. And if you don't see my value, then you're not going to leave with the right impact that I want you to leave with. Like I would rather go weeks or months without having a new client because I would want someone to sign up at the right time when they feel like I'm the perfect person to guide them. And anyway, yeah, with that being said, I think for me, it's about the clients telling me after we like worked on a lesson how they implemented it in a real life example, like, oh, you won't believe what happened with this guy, or you won't believe what happened with my client, or I did what you told me and I'm seeing XYZ result. Like that to me is, there's nothing better than that. That's my favorite part. That's the best part. That I would much rather somebody tell me that their life has changed than make money, having tons of people work with me. And I think that's probably the only reason, honestly, why anyone should get into coaching. If you want to make fast money, you could do that a lot of different ways. If you want to change lives, then that's the type of work I think is the best.
I couldn't agree more. It's actually on my vision board, which I have up right now. It says goal to make an income while making an impact. And that's why
Mm,
mentorship is so important to me. I love being mentored. I still go to my mentors regularly, but also now being a mentor. And people are like, why don't you do it? Like, make a course or become a coach. I'm like, I mean, one day, maybe when I have the time to devote to making that a business, I would
right,
love to because I generally do it. But I also get so much fulfillment of doing it one on one, like out of the kindness of my heart that, like you said,
right,
like there is, you can make a lot of money doing it, but if that shouldn't be the reason why you do it. And to me, I feel
right,
like if I start monetizing it, I'll take the love out of it for me. So at this point in time, because I am focused on helping people the right way, the people that I know I'm going to really make a difference in their life and are going to add value to my life as well. That I'm very selective with the clients that I work with for that reason. I'm okay, like you said, like going a month without a new client in my law firm business or in my management company as well. For those reasons, I like being really specific with who I work with because I want to make
right.
that impact. So the same thing applies for mentorship. And right now I'm like, I know that I would need to scale it to make it a viable business. And like, I don't want to work with people that aren't going to get something out of it and that I'm not going to genuinely love helping. So I think that's a really beautiful point that you made. Um, but no, I love that it has evolved in the last few years. And I think confidence coaching and just having that support system and someone like a big sister, the advice, and then coming back to
Mhm.
you and being like, hey, it worked, or like I did this and look at all the cool things, like that is the most
Yeah.
rewarding thing when people say that to me. um it makes my day. So I love that you shared that. You also have your own like lingerie, like intimate company, Vixen, which by the way, I love the name. When did that come about and how do you, I think, tie that in with, which I think I'll know based off of what our conversation, but I'm curious, like, how do you tie that into confidence and empowerment and helping women with having an intimate company? I mean, to me personally, if I put stuff like that on, I feel confident and empowered and like I love what I see, but not everyone feels that way. So I'm curious, like, where did
Yeah.
that come from?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to have a brand of my own. Like I always wanted like a boutique or a clothing brand or whatever, but I also always really resonated with like very feminine, like down to lingerie, not even saying like, oh yeah, I was always wearing lingerie, but I was always wearing lace or silky things. Like I look back on when I first announced Vixen, which by the way, thank you for that. I love the name as well. For anyone who doesn't get it, because if you know the word Vixen, Vixen, this is actually Vicen, which is combination of my name, Victoria, and sensual and sensuality and all that, and just combined, and there you have a vixen. But in any case, when I launched it, I looked back on photos of myself from like my 8th grade prom, my high school prom, my Sweet 16. My Sweet 16 theme was Moulin Rouge. So me and like the girls that were on my dais, we literally wore bustiers and corsets, like sexy lace corsets
I
and,
love that so
little
much.
frilly skirts and with like the lace up the back. I mean, I was 15, 16 years old. So, and literally it looks like the dress I wore to my 8th grade graduation, sorry, 8th grade prom and my high school prom. I was always wearing lacy, silky, like sexy, feminine things. And sexy doesn't have to mean showing all your skin. It just means the fabric, it means the design, it means the cut. So I always wore stuff like that. I would legit wear corset tops out, like with jeans and heels. Like that was just how I loved to dress always. So it was a very natural thing for me to want to do that sort of style, which is why I made lingerie pieces that can also be worn as clothing. Like I have like a sexy lacy bodysuit that the girls legit wear out. Like all the girls who bought it wear it out as a top. I did launch a corset, also something that I and the girls, all wear as a top. There's a few, it's only a 6-piece collection. It's a small collection, but a few of them can be worn out. Anyway, how it like is a fit with confidence is because that's the whole point of the brand, like the slogans are confidence is the new black and in every confident woman's closet. And when you wear the items, they're so flattering. The fabric, the quality is like top notch. These are the best of the best fabrics and qualities you could possibly get, and it's flattering on people. They fit amazing. They make you feel sexy. They make you feel confident. And almost everyone who's ever gotten a piece sent me an individual message telling me how in love they are with the garments. And so confidence is the whole point of the brand. It's like the purpose of why I launched it, honestly, in the first place. So that in itself is a natural part of my own personal brand. But also I think just tying it in with, my life, to be honest, like it's hard with small businesses like that because they cost a lot to maintain. And the truth is like I probably won't launch another collection, at least not at this time. It's only going to be this main one because it's hard to keep reinvesting, not only investing financially, but time wise. And just there's so much that gets put into a brand. Luckily, I happened to be starting it during COVID time. It was 2020. And so everything was different, like everything was
Yeah.
cheaper and whatever. And I think a lot of people launched a business during 2020, 2021. And so now look at the way that the world has changed over the past 4 years. I mean, I so the honest truth is I can't afford to launch another like collection, So I'm proud of the pieces that I came out with. I love that I have them. I love that they do stand for me and my brand and confidence and all that. And it might just be something that stays like that, for a while. And if the time ever comes that I add more things to it, that's great. But I'm proud of the business I that I did launch, and it was fun and I like it. I like the pieces. I still stay true to them, and I think that's why making something timeless is really important. If I was like going the trendy route or whatever and digging myself in a hole where I can't get myself out of it, like we just kind of talked about, that would be a pretty shitty situation. But I'm like very thankful that I did what I did with it because it's something that girls can still buy forever and will still want to wear, honestly, forever. It's very timeless.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the whole impact while making an income thing. It's like you didn't do it for the money. You did it because it was genuinely an
Oh,
extension
trust
of your
me.
brand.
Trust me, I did not. I lost a lot of
Yeah,
that.
and people don't realize how expensive it is to maintain a business or a podcast or a website. Like I still pay for my blog
Yeah,
to exist, even though I don't post on it often, but because what's on there is impactful and important. I want people to be
right.
able to go back and read it. And like you said, like your pieces, I actually want to try them. I was looking at the page earlier, and I'm always like shopping for that, like for just for myself, like because of
Yeah.
how confident and empowering it is. But I think it goes back, like you didn't do it for the money. You did it because it was a genuine extension of your brand and your mission. And that's why
Mhm.
it's if it fits in. Which is I figured what the answer was gonna be, which is why I said that. But I wanted to ask because I feel like, people, there's so many people nowadays, they start a business because they think that they should, or they're told that they should. We all talk about like, the best way to leverage your vitality and longevity is to evolve over time and start businesses, not just content creation. So you have something of your own to own and all of that stuff. We talk about it all the time, but finding the right kind of business to start. Not everyone's is a good based business. Those are way more expensive sometimes than services. um
Mhm.
you have one of each. You talked about the difference in the two. I don't know, I just thought like the business lawyer side of me is like, I want to dive into that, but I love that you can connect it back to ultimately who you are and your authenticity and
Yep.
confidence. And that's the real message here. And I think it's, you know, now that you have really owned into this and you've leaned into it for, like you said, the 8 years that you've been creating content online and sharing all of this, what do you think the biggest thing you've learned about yourself has been in the last few years?
Ooh, I would say something that I learned a lot maybe this year, like in the past year, is also like you're still entitled to your privacy too, because I have learned that it could be, not to say harmful, but that it could be tough if when you do become someone who's like so open and so transparent with like everything going on in your life, and then you have something that you don't want to necessarily like share everything about online, like something that you really want to protect. People pretty quickly, get mad at you for that. A lot of people feel entitled to knowing more about you because you've shared so much. And I think I always said, like, oh, when I get a boyfriend, like I want to make all these videos and like share all this stuff. And then you get into the situation and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that because I don't want anyone to know any of this personal information. So what I'm still like learning and really trying to maneuver is like how I can share things that I want to share, but keep that information at like an arm's length and like keep doing it from a distance rather than letting people on the inside, because I don't think anyone should be on the inside of that except for me and my partner, and that should be the end of that. So I think that is something for me that's been like a lesson to learn and a work in progress, because I almost felt like, at least when I started, the only way people would ever stay, interested in me is by just sharing, sharing, sharing every single thing. I felt like the only way to like keep my audience consistently interested is by telling them all of my business. And I'm also a pretty private person, so that was even hard to make myself do in the first place. And now it's like the rerouting it, like going backwards and being like, okay, wait, I don't have to share every single thing. And so, yeah, I think ultimately when it comes to that, like content creation, you have to just remember, like, you're the one who decides what gets out there. You're the one who's in control. So post what you want. Don't post what you don't want. Don't let anyone ever put you in a box, or don't let anyone ever make you feel like you have to share everything. Just stay true to yourself and just trust yourself, and do the right thing that resonates with you.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's been one of the hardest things for me also. And I think as I've gotten older, similarly, I'm sharing a lot less, but I love to share. And I am a very vulnerable person by nature. It's not hard for me to open up, but then
Right.
realizing like there is, I mean, I always knew that there were some things that were private and I didn't share everything, but I shared a lot of it. And then realizing now that I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't want to share those things. And like similarly, like I was never the girl that was like, I can't wait to share all of this stuff with my future boyfriend. Like I was never that girl. Obviously, like I wanted to be able to share some things, but I wanted to primarily keep it private. And then when I was in one, I didn't want to share any of it.
Yeah,
And
it's like, wait, I don't
I
want
know I
and
want it to be
please, I
for
posted
me.
my man once and had 20 girls requesting to follow him. I'm like, "Step back,
Yeah.
please."
See, I'm glad there was no social media to tag for that reason. But the minute I didn't share him for a little bit,
No,
people,
I didn't tag. I did not tag.
oh, that's
They just
funny.
find.
That's funny. Yeah. So there was no one to find. I'm sure people would have tried, but but it was funny. Like I didn't share him for a little bit, and then people were like, "Are you guys still together?" And I'm like, "Just because I do what? Like I do one
Oh, I can't. Oh my
and
god, I can't. I
it was
posted a
weird.
video once talking about, like, because someone asked for advice on, like, a breakup or whatever, so I just, like, talked about it, and those are the comments,
You
like,
think that
"This
they
doesn't
think
sound good." I'm like, "I did not break up," like so, yeah, listen, it's a hard thing for content creators to navigate because it's like, on one end, you know that you wanna share so much because that's what keeps people interested, but not then on the other end, you have to put yourself first, and there's some things that you just have to and want to protect.
yeah, I always say I'm 100% who I am online, who I am offline, but there's just more to me offline. And that's reserved
Yeah.
for the people in my life and for myself.
Yeah, and I think that's totally valid.
I think that's kind of how I filter it, but it's a hard balance to strike. Um, but yeah, and then for someone who's kind of like, in their early 20s, college or just out of college, not now that we're a little older and can look back fondly on the girls we used to be, and we have all of this information now, what is your biggest piece of advice to them?
Hmm. The biggest piece of advice to myself,
To your
like to my
college
younger
self
self,
or like a
or
college age
okay.
girl, yeah.
Okay, okay. Have fun now, like while you're young, like, and let yourself have fun. I graduated college a year early. I was so like gung-ho on being getting older fast. Like I spent my summer and my winter breaks doing online school to get more credit. I studied abroad to get more credit. I did like 5 unpaid internships to get more credit. Like I was doing all these things to be able to collect enough college credit so that I could graduate in
You
3
and I
years
are
instead of 4.
kindred spirits. I graduated a semester early. I would have graduated a whole year if I hadn't failed math twice, but I did all of the same
Mm.
things you just said.
And I just was in such a rush to like be older and like have a job and whatever. And I did have a lot of fun, like I did, but I think I could have let myself have more fun while I was young, but I was just like, get me out of this. Like I was just way too like ahead of myself. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to make money faster, to like be more mature faster. I thought I was gonna be able to get married and have kids by 23 years old, like all these things. Like I just thought I was gonna be so established so early on. I was in such a rush to leave my parents' house, which now I'm like, why after spending so much on rent for the past like 6 years, what the hell was the rush? Like I could have stayed at my parents' house till literally a year ago, honestly. um I was just always in such a rush for everything, in such a rush to be an adult, like in such a rush to spend money and make money, um and like that independence, like yeah, and but none of it defined me, like none of it changed. I mean, yes, it changed my life because every one thing leads to another, but none of it made me any better or worse of a person. It's just, I thought it was going to I thought it was going to lead to a very different type of life, and I'm very 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 proud of myself to have stayed so grounded. And now I do live back closer to my family. I moved back over here. I had moved away for a while. I was just so obsessed with this idea of like getting away from home and like, all that. And then you get older and you're like, wait, I want to be closer to home. I want to be closer to my parents. I want to be closer to family. Like I don't care about these certain things. And so, yeah, like have more fun. Don't I have girls that submit questions for advice and they're like, I still live with my parents. What should I do? I'm so behind. I'm like, stay. Like just
Home.
stay. Like
I'm 26.
yeah,
I
yeah, like
have my own.
stay until you can't possibly stay anymore. They're like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't have an income. What should I do? I'm like, if your parents are cool with taking care of you until you figure out what it is that you want to do, stay and do that. Don't go get a job, a career that you don't want to do because it's going to make you miserable. Like, let them take care of you as long as they possibly can until they say you need to get a job. Okay, fine. But figure out what you want to do. Pick up hobbies, do other things, learn yourself more, and then get into the career. Like, don't be in such a rush. You are in control of your life. So save your money, find what you love to do. Then when you get the career and you're really situated and settled, then you could go ahead and move out and whatever. But I was just in such a rush that now I'm like, why? Like, why was why was I? I don't know. But don't be, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's huge, and something that I also have to tell myself. I live at home, 26, own several businesses, and I still live at home. And I'm grateful for it every day. Actually, that was part of what my TikTok was about this morning. I love that I get to live at home and be close to my family. And I know that I want to raise my future family close to mine and still have that. But right now, both of us live at home, both me and my younger brother. And we're lucky that our parents are allow us to do that while we're figuring ourselves out. And I think doing that too allows for the right people and the right opportunities and the right things to happen when they're meant to. And I think it'll be so much sweeter when those things happen. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I was always in such a rush. And my mom tells me all the time, she's like, "Oh, see, you wanted to grow up so fast. Now you're here, and it's not that fun." I'm like, I know. Like, can I go back to being a child, please?
Listen, if I could have lived rent free until I was 26, I could have actually. If I would have, I should say, because I could have, but I chose not to. So
Yeah, yeah. I lived until I was 24 in law school. I lived alone in Tennessee. And then I came back home after that. And like that was an adjustment in and of itself, like being like 24, moving back in with my parents. But the last 2 years I went
yeah,
and did for the world. Um, so yeah, if you have the opportunity to do it, don't rush to move out or to be an adult because we have the whole rest of our lives to do that. So enjoy
yeah,
it.
you have forever to be an adult. Trust me.
Yeah. No, but this has been so great. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where can everybody find you? I'll link it all below.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a very fun conversation. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Victoria dot like a period Alario Alario. And then Vixen the Label is on Instagram at Vixen the Label or .com, vixenthelabel.com, VICSEN. And for the girls, my podcast is everywhere that you could listen to podcasts. And then it's on Instagram and TikTok at, for the girls dot podcast. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I'll see you guys next week.